Crump, man. We're super excited for another YouTube live episode of the Boy Man King podcast. And it's your main man, Coach Crump, and my right-hand man, Chizzy. What's up with the people, Chizzy?
What's up, man? I'm good, man. It's good to be back. You know, we had a little time in the A. Just chilling for a little bit. I know you're probably saying, I miss my boy. I had him right there. We chopping up.
No, I'm not saying none of that. I don't miss you at all. I'm glad that
Okay.
you're going. You eat a lot
That's
of
why we
food.
have these platforms so guys can learn vulnerability. But it's cool. We got Quiy in the building. We're
Yeah,
gonna
we got a special guest, man. A mighty man, a man who has a dynamic skill set. He's an educator. He's a husband.
Yeah.
He's a father. He's an entrepreneur. He's a producer. He's a content creator. Man, give it up for none other than Quiy the guy. What's up, A5?
06, let's get it. What's up, Coach Crump and Chizzy?
So hold on, this is an alpha reunion or something? This is
No. It's just an alpha thing. You're not a part.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it
Technically
can't be a reunion.
Okay. We standing on end 2 feet over here. That's what we do. We standing on end 2 feet. I get you. Cool. All right, let's keep it moving.
Yeah. So man, it's a couple things I want to talk about today. And one, I want to talk about the importance of mentorship, right? And I want to talk about the importance of mentorship in the case of initiation, because Quiy, you're a man who is of value. You're a man who takes what you do seriously. You know what I mean? You're a family man. You're a community man. You're a content creator. You're in the space. But man, let's go back when we first met. You was Rasta Man Dread Pandem. You know what I mean? Big Man Dreads. And you was just doing your production. You was working. And we had a conversation, man, that led to you cutting your hair immediately, that led to you rededicating your life to a level of value and virtue that you're walking in right now. Just came back from a family vacation with your wife and your son. So let's kind of talk about like what a major, because dreads are important to men. You know what I mean? People don't know, people who grow their dreads out way down the back and all that. You're like, look, you just like chop it all off. I'm moving in this direction. But you, without anybody telling you, you did that. Talk about young men in their 20s. They get a conversation with other men in their 40s. What was it about the conversation that said, man, I got to make some changes, and I'm making them right now?
It was just like, I think the biggest thing, Crump, is the realization that, God speaks to us through people and circumstance. And, a lot of times, the immature me, whenever, people say, oh, I had a conversation with God, we're really kind of like depicting this like holy conversation with this inanimate figure that we can't see. And it can sometimes look like people talking to themselves, and that's just truly not it. And what I learned the more I matured is God is going to put people in your life, like right in front of you, in the times that you are most receptive to the information. And in this specific case, I feel like that was me being in the time and place that I was when I met, you and Jeremy Anderson, when y'all came to the Harley Initiated studio, for the first time, and chopping it up with y'all, and being able to hear the conversation and really be in a place spiritually where I could receive it. And that's just an example of, talking to God, because, on the other side, it could be a situation that you really had to go through to learn a lesson. And then the whole nother side, it could just be like just missing a situation or circumstance, right? Like you have people who have near death experiences, and, or just missing that plane that could have had, something ill happen. And these are just all examples of how God is like telling us to wake up and pay attention and realize that you were kind of veering off the course that I had intended for you.
Yeah. And Chizzy, I want to give it back to you, because I think it goes both ways, like just having the humility too. Because like in some cases, when we had our relationship shift as friends, you came to me on a different tip about spiritual development, but you're older, you know what I mean? You're more experienced, but you had to say, nah, bro, give me this line. I'm going to get on. I'm going to change what time I wake up. Like, talk about men, not just saying, hey, mentorship, but you and Quiy, you guys took the initiative to say, I'm going to do something without somebody forcing or making me. Talk about your journey as an older, like more mature in your experience in life, but you still say, even in my 40s, I need mentorship?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing because we talk about this often, even in our social conversations. But like, I personally, I grew up with a dad, very instrumental. Has been on the pod. We've all talked to him. We've heard him speak, and it's only when you realize that your journey is your journey, and your personal experience and your personal choices lead you down paths A or B. And as much influence as others may have on you, or the environments you grow up in sometimes can influence choices, it's only when you have that light bulb moment where you recognize that you really have to take a 100%, a 180 shift in how you operate and how you function to get the result that you're looking for. So for me, in spite of me having a father who's involved in church, who's pastor and is doing a lot of stuff in community, witnessing, even seeing you when I was working at the school at Impact, and seeing you on the prayer line and saying, this guy's consistently on the prayer line. What is going on? He's consistently got this thing going on in Missouri. It's only when I decided, and sometimes that happens, in my case, it happened where God brought me to my knees, where and I've talked openly about this, where I'm like, man, listen, I got to do something different to get a different result. And so it's only when I decided, similar to you, Quiy, where you decided, I got to make a serious shift for me, and what that means for intentionality, what that means for connecting with the right people, with having the right mentors, with having the right people in my ear, where you realize that there's a whole different set of opportunities of stuff that comes that can be pushed in your direction when you make that decision. And it's almost like, what was I doing all this time before I had the aha moment of having this open, consistent relationship with Christ, relationship with God, relationship with other people who can kind of chip away at these things that I still struggle with? Because make no mistake about it, just because you decide to make it a 180-degree turn doesn't necessarily mean that everything just functions seamlessly.
Yeah.
And that's when you realize that the consistency of the mentorship, the consistency of the prayer line, the consistency of having other people that'll pour into you, you find that's even more vital than you ever experienced before. Because as we know, like, the devil's not trying to bother somebody who's already living with according to how he sees us to live. It's really when you really start to step into your truth and your purpose through God, where you experience all of these attacks on your character, on your family, on the things that you're trying to achieve. The good thing now is that, you got a father who's big and bold and boasty, who can really handle it all and throw it all, and you know that you can put all those cares, all those words, all those things on him, and he's gonna give you the guidance, support, and protection so that you can withstand all of the attacks that are coming your way. And you only get that by being in close proximity with guys like people in the prayer line, other people who could just pour into you, so you know that, oh man, today is not the day where I'm not feeling it. Let me call on somebody who could, I have people who I can count on that can give me the support that I need, because this walk is difficult. That's why it's a narrow path. It's not a broad path, it's a narrow path for a reason, because not everybody can, everybody can take that. So yeah, man.
Yeah,
it's a consistent thing. Go ahead, man. Sorry.
Yeah, I want to bring it back to Quiy again, because I'm so conscious that, man, I've been having a mentor for so many years. I got in a spot, right? Wife, kids, house, career, money. I was like, don't ask for nothing else. Be grateful. Let me tell you why I paused. I got to like 38, 39, kind of like pause. I was like, bro, just be grateful, because life had taught me every time I get a mentor, every time I try to do a thing, I got to get pruned. I got to go through something. So I knew, hey, bro, if you start to do the whole mentor going for something, that means you're being prepared to go through something. So I was like, just be grateful, thankful. God, I'm good. I don't need nothing else. I don't need nothing else to happen. I'm just going to be a grateful steward over what I have. But then I started feeling like this in between these past couple of years, where it's like, God's like, I called you to something greater, so you gotta keep it moving. and I just got an executive coach. And a recommendation. And here's the thing. Somebody had to bring it to me. Somebody has said, Chris, man, I thought about you. This would be so good for you. It'll be free. Man, they see where you're going. They can see what you, and it was like one of my friends. I said, as a person who coaches and believe in coaches and mentor, if I believe and I do that for other people, I got to have a coach too. You know what I mean? And I got to be held accountable too. But in the back of my mind, Quiy, I'm actually struggling. I know you probably experience this because it's not like you get a mentor and then life gets easy, right? You get a mentor to get you ready for what's about to happen. That you got skills and tools and tips and understanding how to deal with it when it arrives. So I already know that me getting this 6-week program, I think I start next week, that executive coaching experience is getting me ready for what I'm about to get into. That's going to be even more dynamic for me to manage. But now I got the skill set. Now I got this understanding. I got this knowledge. You know, life don't get easier. We just get better. So talk about that when you got the mentor, like, man, okay, I'm good. I made a decision. Talk about how necessary it was for you to stay down the track because life started lifing. And you had to deal with what you had to deal with. Talk about that.
I think that's when the mentor is like most key. Like, of course, the game is valuable. Having the accountability is valuable, but also having someone that understands where you're going and the kind of the obstacles you have to climb to get there, to be able to forewarn you, like, hey, this is about to rock your world, or this is about to change. So like when life starts life and you have that preparation. And like that's even for me, like why I even started the pod and why I wanted to get into podcasting. Like I was very intentional on like, okay, I could start this podcast and I can go down the rabbit hole of whatever, how everybody else is creating content, and however people want to create content, that's on them. But for me, I knew it was a way for me to kind of be intentional on where I wanted to go. So it was a way for me to get the one-on-ones, to get in the room with the people that I'm trying to like have these conversations with, who know a little bit more than me and can kind of point me down the right path, instead of just empty conversation about what I think people would like and share the most. It was more so like, how can I just get into the rooms with people that's going to add value, not just to my life, but to the people who I care about. It was also like, you got friends back home who's doing the same things over and over again. Like I'm proud to say, like, I have conversations on my platforms and on my socials that I could send and share to somebody that I know is not going to be destructive, but it's going to be constructive. And that's all, like, that's the biggest purpose on why I wanted to get into, the industry that I'm in and making content, so that I could just like bring people along with me, for the ride, and to also be held accountable by connecting with the right people who already been there and done that.
Yeah, and to that, I mean, that's why we started this platform, right?
For
Go
sure,
ahead, man.
for sure. Yeah, it's powerful how when you ask God for stuff, He's gonna give you what you ask for too. So you also got to be careful what you ask for and make sure you're ready to receive what you're asking for. I'm saying that to say that I know on a personal level, I often ask for guidance. I ask for purpose in the conversation. I ask God to put people in my life that's gonna really develop me and show me who I am and help me to get to a space where I know that I can still be of service, that I can still demonstrate that it's cool to be a Black man who's trendy, who likes things, who likes to poop, who likes to do all these wonderful things, but I still have principles and values that I stand on, and God is at the source of all of that. So for me, even though we present and we're sitting here and we're talking about Boy Man King, we're talking about Quiy, we're talking about Crumb, we're talking about all these wonderful things and opportunities that we have experienced just by making a choice, it's also 100% cathartic and therapeutic. And it pours into me, I say this a lot, the opportunity to even sit in these platforms and have conversations and know that even though directly, I may not be able to interact with the guests in a way that's consistent, but it's still pouring, it's still adding value to me, it's still sharpening my sword so that I can continue to push and develop and be pruned for opportunities that are thrown in my direction. So we have a responsibility to speak truth and to empower and to create platforms for men specifically but we also have a duty to ensure that we're doing everything in our utmost to ensure that we are presenting and will come into a space, in a healthy space, to be able to just continue to maximize what people need and what we can get from these opportunities as well. So like Kai said, like, it's amazing to be able to share stories, share opportunities, have people that directly can pour into your life, man. So it's amazing. It's an amazing thing. And it's no mistake why these things happen.
Yeah.
Because when you pray for stuff, you gotta know that God's gonna give you what you ask for. And so this is just a result of that. There's prayers, in my opinion.
And then when I realized that when you don't receive it, because it's one thing to ask for it, and then it's another thing to be ready to receive it. When you're not ready to receive it, you oftentimes won't get it. And when people ask for things, they're like, well, why didn't it happen this way, or why didn't it happen yet? And they start questioning the timing in which they received their blessings. That right there that's the message. Like, that's the higher power telling you still got some work to do, and you still got some disciplines to learn, and some people to meet, and just some things you need to check about yourself before you're ready to receive that blessing you asked for.
I'm glad you said that, Kai. Because when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Now let's go there, man. As a young man, right? Because Kai, how old are you now?
29.
Yeah, so you in your last, you know what I'm saying?
Last lap.
Last lap of the young buck ministry. You know what I'm saying? Your last year of excuses for the rest of your life, right? But talk about, as a man, you are a young man in a generation where men in their 20s, in our era, Chizzy can tell you, it was very normal. It was very normal in our era that when you was in your 20s, you got married and had children 20 years ago. In your era, everybody shooting their shot, doing their own thing. You know what I'm saying? Passport bros, single guys club, like everybody out trying to stay out in these streets as long as possible. As a young man who's honoring your woman, honoring your family, honoring the work you're doing, what is the hardest struggle you have that people can't see right now?
Man, the hardest struggle is that struggle of just fighting the flesh. And when Chizzy said earlier about, like, the devil come knocking on your door when you are on the right path. When you on the wrong path, he ain't got to knock on your door. The door already open. He could just come in whenever he please. So, when you have those temptations and stuff like that, it's a sign that you're moving on the right path, but you also got to continue to keep in mind, like, keeping that door locked and keeping it in check, because you got bros and you got people that you're going to connect with, and at first glance it's going to be like, oh, they have my best, and they had the right intentions, but then it turns out like they there to kind of help you feed the flesh, and that's not what you need. And you just gotta stay 10 toes down on what you're looking for, and just remember that it's bigger than this moment of desire. It's bigger than the arguments. It's like, what are you really trying to build? And eventually they're gonna come around because they realize they need that unit, and you, like, it's just, I would say that's the biggest thing that I challenge myself with.
Yeah, and when you say flesh, you're talking about the lust aspect, right?
Yeah, just the lust aspects, like.
Yeah, and because we don't have this conversation enough, and I always say we don't have this conversation enough even with women, because it's a completely different thing. Like, it's like an everyday clock, and you have to literally develop a skill set. Because first is normal, so I want to free you up feeling like any guilt and shame. I think it's important that we just have a conversation about, as a heterosexual male, you're going to be naturally attracted to a feminine woman, you know what I mean, who's attracted to you, right? That natural dopamine is going to happen. Now you gotta look at your social and values to say, what's the appropriate response for two things, from where I'm at and where I want to go. You know what I mean? And I think that's just important to understand, that every man, like, just in case if you want to, hey man, does it stop when you're in your 40s that you don't see a woman who's attractive, like, that you're not going to be attractive? Like, no, it don't stop. But you have to be smart to say, okay, let me get in different activities. Let me have different conversations. Let me get in different people. Let me filter, you know what I mean, online and in real life, get with married couples. Because, you in your 20s, you know what I mean? Like, everybody ain't married, you know what I mean? But they your boy, but they really outside.
They
You know what I
outside.
mean? Like me and Chizzy, we inside. Like,
And
you know
look,
what I'm saying?
and I'm a single guy who's inside. You know what I'm saying? Because I also, so to your point, like you got to recognize where your strengths are and where your weaknesses are, and what's the best choice for the lifestyle that you're trying to live and the future lifestyle that you want to have. And so for the single guys out there, like myself, I don't have the security of somebody that sleeps next to me every night, and also the accountability of someone that sleeps next to me every night, from the perspective of I have a wife who I have physically have somebody who I can now say, all right, if I make this particular choice, I stand to lose this. As a single man, I don't have any of that. You know what I mean? So I would like to believe that, the struggle is amplified given the fact that, I ain't got nobody telling me, look, stay home, or you don't have to do this, or, I don't have any accountability in terms of a female or a wife next to me. So that's a different set of challenges that the single guy has to grapple with. So that's why it's ultra important. I even noticed myself, I have more married friends, and it could just be my age, could be a bunch of our, maybe it's God's blessing. I have a lot of married friends who I associate with, and I do have single friends. And for me, that's a good thing, because it's like, all right, I get to tangibly see how they function in their relationships, what it's like to co-parent, to parent, to be a husband, be a wife. I know my married brothers ain't good out there trying to be out or be a parties. So for me, that's a good thing. So what about the brothers who were like, yo, I'm got all single friends. I'm trying to walk this spiritual godly life. It's hard because my flesh is weak, and I could succumb to my flesh every night and twice on Tuesday if I want to, because I don't have those protective factors in place. So that's why it's ultra important for me personally, and for other brothers, I'm sure, to really get associated with people who have your spiritual intentions and who have your spiritual, who have a similar value system, so that you can all kind of support each other in that particular way.
Yeah. And Kai, tell me, and right now, what do you do now to help you with it?
Man, I study and I meditate and I pray on, the things that the life that I want. And I like to tell the guys that adding a wife to your life is like complicated simplicity, right? It's like
I like that.
a woman is going to complicate your life in all the right ways, and it don't always feel right in the moment, but in hindsight you'll realize, like, oh damn, she complicated this for me for the right reasons, and sometimes she don't even know it. And then that simplicity part comes because once you have a wife that you really like care about and you want the best for, it's like it takes away all the noise in your mind, because as men who are driven, like, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to be successful in this area, we want to be successful in that realm. But when you start to really settle down with a woman and you start building a family, like Crump, you said it a couple times, it's like you already won. So it kind of it simplifies life so much for you. And I think just coming to that realization for me, it is the biggest thing that helps. Because another thing that I resonated with last week, you had shared, Crump, how long you and Nick been together. It's been the same thing for me and my wife. Like, we've been together since our sophomore year of college. So like we moved out of our hometowns together. We grew up, like, we literally became adults together. And so, in some of, my darkest times, it was always on the other side of things, thinking about what life could be like, as an adult who is, who's never experienced like adulthood as a single man, you know what I'm saying? And, always having to check that flesh and check that wonder, because at the end of the day, that's not what I was put here for. I was put here for a different purpose. And so those are just things that I have to, like, always constantly remind myself.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And Chizzy, you kind of can talk to that too, because you talked about this a couple of times where, man, if I knew the things that I knew now, I know for a fact how I showed up even in my previous marriage and my parents, it would have been different. I was with a young couple last night, and I was really acknowledging her husband, but she was just like, hey, I thought your wife was coming. She didn't come. I ended up doing 2 impromptu coaching sessions with her. She was like, how do you do it? How do you do it? Because they're young, they're in their 20s, they married with 2 kids. And the world will make you think you're losing out, that it's the worst because y'all. I said, listen, you in your 20s with a child. Everybody know you broke and you never gonna have enough money, you never gonna have enough time. But you gotta already know that you already blessed, and you gotta be more in protection mode than feeling like I'm losing mode. Like your mode should be more on like I'm protecting this precious because it's all new and it's very infant. And if you on like, oh, I ain't got it, or I need to get it, or I feel less than, or I'm missing out. Like if your mind goes to any of those alternative spaces, you're not gonna be present. You're not gonna be grateful. You're not gonna be thankful. You're not gonna be holding hands and hugging and having conversations one with the other just to be grateful for the presence. And man, the amount of talking I had to do with her because her mom was a strong, independent woman that said she needs to get an education to build. Like she had to do all of this like yesterday, Chizzy.
Yeah.
Beautiful family with a great husband who's a professor, but still had to do all of this self-talk to help herself be okay with having a family, to be okay with being a wife. Like that's how much you be warring in the early stages of your identity and your value. And if you're missing out, if you're being like all of these other things are coming at you, not realizing, listen, there's nothing greater that you can accomplish than your family. But it's like when you're young in it and you're first in it, you're thinking about other stuff when you need to be keeping the main thing the main thing. Talk about that, Chizzy, your own experience.
Yeah, you got to block some of these things out. And I remember clearly a lot of my choices when I was married was influenced by perceptions, my perceptions of other people's situations and how I internalized that. So now I have to compensate or overcompensate to ensure that, you know, either what I put on a pedestal I can achieve, or what I don't want to achieve, I kind of stamp all and do away with, sort of thing. So depending on your influences, I think what I would tell my past self, it's funny, I had to do this in one of my therapy sessions. It was like, write a letter to your past self about what you know now, so it's almost like cathartic to be able to talk to your previous self and say, hey man, give yourself grace. Or remember when you thought that you had to do X, Y, and Z? It's okay. Like who you are now is okay. Like, you know what I mean? So you kind of have to really, really block out influences. And when I say influences, you know, I know for me, had I had more associations with more married couples, or had I not put marriage on a pedestal, this is another conversation, could be another conversation for another day, because I saw that reflection in my parents and I wanted to, you know, have that similar experience that my parents had. It forced me to be like, well, she's not like my mama. I'm not like my dad. So I'm almost condemning myself to a result that I shouldn't even be condemning myself to, because I'm measuring myself against something that is unattainable. And I think for a lot of couples, you have to really know that, or hold true to why you got married, and figure it out within the confines of your own space. Because what works for Crump doesn't work for Kai, doesn't work for me. And it's important. So, you know, even if when you choose the associations of other married couples, your goal is not to duplicate what they do, but to learn maybe from the choices that they made, or mistakes they made, or how they navigated those choices, but to also be able to say, all right, I can take this piece that works for my marriage and my situation because they had that experience and they learned from that and implemented in my space for success. And I think if you continuously evaluate your marriage and your relationship based on grace and understanding that there's going to be a time where both of you fall short, but you continue to just together push through this thing, then you have a lot of success. I never chose to do that. I just decided that, and most people do. Yeah, just not acting right. I'm not getting what I need. I'm gonna bounce because my needs aren't getting met. Not to say that your needs don't matter, but then it's a misguided understanding that she has to give me for me to give back. The transactional stuff that takes place in a lot of relationships that can cause the demise of it, man. So, you know, I don't want to go in a soapbox and go down that rabbit hole, but it's important to really, really have a realistic.
But it's an important conversation. I want to pose a question to Kai, but before I do, I think it's important. I coach men in this space. One thing that hurt me, Kai, for a very long time, but whenever you have frustration in relationships, that means that there also is unrealistic expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it took me a while to make that register in my brain that I was putting the needs of my manhood on my wife's response.
Mm-hmm.
So like her response, good, bad, or indifferent, I was determining how good I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, bro, it took me umpteen years with her to say that is, first of all, unhealthy. More importantly, it's unrealistic because she is not qualified to validate my manhood. She didn't go to school for that.
Right. There's only one person that
Get
can validate
training.
your manhood, for sure.
She didn't go to training for that. But it's like when
Mm-hmm.
you have insecurities or you really have a self-talk where you feel some type of way, you do be feeling like, well, if I don't got this and if I ain't act this and my needs ain't getting met, then that must mean that something wrong with me. And I always tell men like, bro, you need to have 3 healthy buckets of processing your worth and value with yourself and with others. 1, initiated mature man. And I say 1, God, right? So first have a relationship with God. And then you got to have healthy relationships with mature, initiated men. Men who are not just mature in age and stage, but they have the same values and virtues that either you have or you aspire to have. And then the third is a community bucket of women and children and associates and affiliations and friends and family. Like you and that, these two, they get you. God gets you. Mature initiated men gets you. Bro, you ain't even got to tell me, bro. I already know.
Right.
Women and children, friends and they don't get you. Everybody that's not initiated, so you have to train them on how to respond to you depending on what season you're in your life.
Mm-hmm. But they're still important too.
You know, if you don't train them on, hey, like we all our children. Hey, clean up your plate when you finish. Hey, don't talk to me like that. Like people doing whatever they do, but hey, when you come to my space though, that's not how we behaving. So what happens is because we're working real hard and we're trying real hard and we made these commitments in our minds, and hey, let me go me. In my mind, I'm thinking you should just get it. You should know it. You should just do it because I made the decision to sacrifice my life for the family. But like that's not realistic. You know what I mean? You have to train people on how to treat you. And the only people in the whole world that's going to have an understanding of how you are, what you're trying to do is mature initiated men, which is usually 1%ers in that space, and God who created you. Everybody else, you got to train how to treat you.
I was gonna say like that purpose, boy, through God is vital. It's like it's because we make no mistake about it. You know, the devil is designed to break up marriages and families. That is the ultimate goal because that actually counteracts and contradicts God's purpose. So you're already a target. The mere fact that you made a decision to have one relationship with one woman under God that you want your family to be covered by God automatically puts you in a category for destruction, for attacks, for all of that. So if you understand that from the beginning, I didn't understand that. I understand that now. I didn't understand that before. Kind of had a slight dose of it. But once you understand that, you now need to know, you now can put the protective factors in place to protect your family before it even comes down to interpersonal relations between you and your wife, the covering of God, prayer, church, all of that type of stuff is vital. So you asked me earlier, what would you do different? 100%. The focus solely is on our purpose and our relationship, how you get your purpose through the creator. That's the only way you can get your purpose. Man and female, that's the only way to do it. And now you have a cover. Now you have something, you have a basis for how you're going to now maneuver your family because relationships. It's about 2 different people, two different thoughts, different upbringings, different family structures, different goals, different aspirations, now coming together. That is not normal. That is not normal to do in the sense of, you know, how organically you are different from a female. Whether you got the best chemistry or not, that is not Normal in the sense that there are going to be days where you're not going to be see eye to eye. The only way that this thing is going to work is if the sole focal point is purpose through God. That's the only way it's going to work. That is the only way. Once you understand that, then it gets a little easier in terms of understanding how you guys can navigate that thing.
Yeah.
And as we know, the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah. And Kai, I want to ask you a question. If you would write a letter to your 40-year-old self, the type of man you want to be, not the stuff you want to have, but the type of man you want to be at 40. Now that you already know you're married, now you already got a child, you got to know what age he gonna be like looking at you. He gonna be doing his own independent thing. But when you 40, what type of man do you want to be?
I would definitely say like two characteristics is consistent and unmoved. Is those two words trend a lot in my journaling and in my thoughts. It's just having the skill set and the discipline to be consistent and also to be unmoved emotionally when we are triggered, when that manhood is triggered, by our women. And just because naturally, man, growing up in Philly, I've developed a certain callousness but also a sarcasm, like a sarcasm that comes with my tone, and those two don't mix well when it comes to catering, not just catering but just
Connected
being
emotionally.
yeah, connecting and being emotionally available to my
Yeah.
wife sometimes. And that's one of the things that comes up a lot for us, is just like I could say things unknowingly sarcastic that just make her feel like I don't give a damn about what she's
Right.
talking about, and that's not the
Welcome to
case
the
at
club, bro.
all.
Welcome to the
Yeah,
Yeah,
club.
yeah, I
and
can't
that's
say
not the
your
case
boy
at
man talking
all.
about that, yeah.
Yeah, so I would say like the older I get, to have the wisdom, and the emotional intelligence to just kind of be unmoved, and to be consistent, consistent in my emotions, consistent in my communication, consistent in, the way I show up and provide for my family. Those two things I say come up the most. And also just one that leans on the law of attraction and continue to put out into the world the things that I want, and not dwell on the things that I don't want, because that's also a thing that I see plays a big part. Like, there's real power in the law of attraction, and I noticed the switch for me was when I was feeling like I was missing out, and I'm talking about all the things I'm not getting, and I'm talking about all the things that I wish she would do and stuff like that. The difference between when I started talking about what I want and celebrating the things she was doing right and things like that, I could sense a shift whenever I would interact with other women. And you talk about, oh, I'm married, and this is the thing I got going on. Instantly you could I started attracting relationships, healthy relationships with women who, when they hear that, they understand it and they respect it, versus when they hear that, they trying to challenge it. Because
Right.
your energy shifts and your energy change when you start sharing that, that side of who you are and your goals and your relationships and stuff like that. So that was like the biggest thing that I realized changed in my life too, with actualizing the law of attraction and just, you know, putting out into the world the things that I want.
Mm.
Go ahead, black man. I see you. I see you, Alpha King, with the alpha energy. You know what I'm saying? I hear Kai the guy times 3 in the back getting busy. He want to be a
Yeah,
speaker.
yeah, he trying to get
It's
up out
starting
his
to get easy.
out his walker.
Yeah, man. You said something I want to just share, man. I was and I haven't done it, but I'm gonna text my wife today. I was just thinking about how proud I am to be her partner. My daughter and my niece, they went out, they went to church together. Had Sunday lunch together. Like, I'm like, man, I got little adults running around the crib. And I'm kind of pooped out, man. I had a long day yesterday. I got a heavy week this week, start tomorrow morning. And my daughter comes up to like custom design a sweater for her senior year. But it's like so girly, Chizzy. And I'm like, me, I'm ultra alpha.
Yeah,
So
man.
like she's coming in talking about the design lookout, and then she's like, okay, we're gonna put these letters across here. And the girls they go downstairs in the basement and they
Yeah.
design this sweater, got pearls and all this stuff. And I was just like, yo, just imagine, right? I'm in that space and I have to kind of facilitate these moments, that's going to be a struggle for me, bro. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, it's not just that it was that moment, because that moment took like 3 hours, Kai. Like that moment, that it wasn't just like, okay, now it's like all of us. And I'm like, bro, like I don't want to get off this couch. And you gotta tell me I gotta go make a custom sweater for 3 hours. Man, my wife said, hey, we think about this, you think about this, we think you should do this. And I'm just like, she's been doing this for 17 years.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm seeing like little moments where that's the beauty of a partnership, where I'm like, CJ, let's go train for 3-4 hours. She's like, Jay, let's go design a sweater for 3 or 4 hours. And it's like, it's stuff like that it works if you work it. If it works if you work together, it works if you appreciate the differences that we have and be okay with those differences. And like, man, today was just another umpteen example. Like I can't, I'm with my wife for 23 years now. So, but it was just like, yo, babe, like, I appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? Because what I do a bad job of is like being present. That's always been my struggle. And I've been doing a lot better since the pandemic, because the pandemic made you be present. But since that time, I've been a lot more like grateful for what I have, grateful for where I'm at, grateful for who I have in my life. And that was just a moment. Like, it wasn't no announcement, right? It wasn't no award, but it was just like, for me, just to be in a moment in time to be like, yo, I'm just grateful that I'm with you. I'm grateful that we have a dynamic in our parenting that, hey, you go down the basement for this, I go for the gym for that. I go take care of the cars, you go take care of the emails, like whatever it is, we just work it out. And I'm just so grateful that she's been with me in working it out for 23 years. That says a lot about her. You know what I mean?
I want to throw also a somewhat of a disclaimer for our audience who feels, and I'm not saying this is what someone feels, but something came into my spirit just now, right, where I'm caused to reflect on the type of man. I have a daughter, 16, just like Jada, the type of man that I want my daughter to attract. And what do I have to do as a father to show her that this is the expectation for how a man is supposed to treat you, supposed to show up, supposed to do for you, how a man is supposed to nurture the abilities of a female. I'm saying all that to say that, well, for our viewership, for anybody, for all men, it's all right if your daughter's 4 or 5 years old and you allow her to paint your nails and put rollers in your hair and you play dress up with your daughter. I'm gonna put that out there. Chris, I know I'm looking at Crumb's face.
We disagree.
He's gonna disagree.
We disagree, bro.
No, he's gonna disagree, right? He's gonna disagree.
Pause.
I'm saying what to say.
It is not. It is not okay on this end. I just want to make sure it's clear. It's not that is not a BMK statement. That is not a generalization statement. That is a chizzy. That's a chizzy perspective, bro.
I'm simply saying. So hold on. You're telling me that there's little value. Let me make sure I pose this question correctly. Do you think it's beneficial for a father to immerse himself with his daughter in a way that goes outside of what he deems to be emasculating as it relates to how he shows up as a parent, for the purposes of developing rapport, for the purposes of showing that even me as a male, I still have a side to me that can relate, that can nurture, that can show up when my daughter needs me to show up. So she may take you to clothing shopping. She may take you to a store. She may take you to buy her prom dress. You know what I'm saying?
I'm done all
That's different.
That. Yeah. I can do all that. Paint. You mentioned painting on nails, doing lipsticks and cross dressing.
Yeah.
I'm a grown man, bro. I ain't doing none of that.
Because how would you feel if your daughter was dating, as she gets older, she's dating a young man who's wearing crop tops and painting his nails?
And doing cross dressing and putting on lipstick.
That's a little extreme. I'm talking about having a.
Bro, it starts.
She sees.
Maybe that's an episode for another day.
It's an episode for right now.
All I'm saying is, at the end of the day, that as a dad, yes, there are rules that a dad takes that a mom can take as well, but I think there will be overlap. So I don't want to confuse. I don't want people to be thinking that just because you're a man, there are certain lines that don't get drawn. There are lines that get get drawn just because you think that you may feel emasculated if your daughter says, "Daddy, can I put curlers in your hair? Can I paint your nails?" And you're gonna look at her like, "No, no, 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 no." So now you're perpetuating some other things that you may have to address within yourself, that says that even as a father who's trying to nurture a relationship with your daughter, you can't see past your own homophobia. And I'm just going to be blunt. I'm saying you in general. In particular, I'm saying we project a lot of stuff on our kids, whether it's through the lens that we've actually learned to look through things. That's all I'm submitting. I'm submitting that it's okay to really, really really evaluate how you show up with your daughters that may actually conflict with what your ideals may be as it relates to sexuality. Not to say that you support it, not to say that you're gonna encourage her to, like Quiy said, to be in a friendship with a guy who cross dresses. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying for the purposes of showing your daughter that you can give her what she needs within reason, of course. It's okay. It's all right. I'm not saying go out there and contradict your beliefs. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying sometimes we have to really evaluate where we stand in certain situations for the purposes of the ultimate lesson and demonstrating to our children that this is the stance that I have on this, and this is the stance that I don't have on this. And it's okay.
But this is where I would get creative in that moment, because if my daughter is asking to paint my nails, it's most likely because she's at the age where she don't fully understand that most men don't paint their nails. And so I would take her out. I'm not going to say, "Oh no, you can't paint my nails." I'm not saying that at all, but what I will do is I'll say, "Yeah, let's go to the store. Let's go get some nail polish." And then while we out, I'm going to get a fake hand, and we gonna paint these hands together. But you ain't gonna paint my hands. My hands ain't getting painted. We gonna paint this mannequin. We gonna paint the mannequin nails together, if that's what you want. Because all you really want to do is paint some nails.
Yeah, and
Or
I
she
know
may,
for
or she may
me,
just want to have a shared experience with her daddy because she's a
yeah,
girl, and she may just
right.
want to paint her
And that's how
nails.
we gonna do it together.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
gonna
she may
definitely,
just.
and that's the point, is that we're gonna share experience and share emotions, but I'm always training my children. I'm never, it is my responsibility to train them. And it's not, they don't know everything that they're even saying and asking and doing. And if their brain is not even fully developed, their emotion not fully, so they're gonna shoot out all type of stuff. And I'm not gonna like, come down but it's like I am very conscious of training and development at all times. And there is clear lines and there's clear boundaries in order to have the life that God has designed for you. So you know what I mean? So for me, I'm just very mindful of that. And since my kids was two, because I didn't realize, in your brain as a parent, sometimes as a newbie, I don't know what I'm doing, Kai. Like, but I didn't realize kids were so smart at two. You know what I mean? Until I had my own two children, I was like, yo, all this way to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. My kids had a lot of sense at 2 years old. And so I was in my seat, in my bag since I was two. And so when I say my daughter took her friends out to church and wanted to take them out to dinner afterwards without talking to her mom and dad, and she'd be 17 in a couple of weeks, like that's from training. You know what I'm saying? That is not from, just running, like that is being strategic about, you know what I'm saying? Like, listen, your faith is paramount, and your faith don't cater to your feelings.
Right.
Your faith is a value system that you live by. If you follow your principles, you'll find your purpose and your promise. If you follow your feelings, you go find yourself falling on your face. So you got to make sure you are following your principles that you live by. And I may have to pause and catch my feelings, catch myself. You know what I mean? Like let me hold them, let me have them, but let me like just move and live off of them. You know what I mean? So for me, it's like, yeah, I'm very mindful of and I'm very mindful of how me and my wife interact in front of them, because most people are caught, not taught. You know what I mean? So they're gonna get by osmosis by just watching me and my wife interact with each other. And so, yeah, I'm a type of parent, I say this, that's very mindful of everything I'm doing is training my children. So I'm very mindful of what I'm doing, what I'm not doing, what I'm saying, what I'm not saying.
Right, because they definitely are sponges. To your point, like, I definitely can speak from personal experience what it's like to, to co-parent and to also have to start to now dismantle or reintroduce certain things to my kids.
There you go,
Hey,
guys.
tiny guy.
He was begging. He was
Internet,
begging.
he wants to come through.
Man.
All right, that's what's up.
Well, what a great way. What a great way to have this thing wrap up, man.
Yeah,
Kai,
yeah.
as a father yourself, man, like what's like your favorite part of fatherhood, man?
Man, just the cadence it puts me on as a man. I saw a quote from another dad who was sharing on his platform that fatherhood is like drowning, but then realizing you can breathe underwater. And so, we're not of the water. So you always going to feel that pressure of the water surrounding you and, how
Yeah,
dense it can feel. But because you can breathe underwater now, you're not necessarily in a rush to swim back up,
Right.
And so you always feel the pressure as a man and as a father. You're always going to feel that pressure kind of weighing on you, but it's going to like having a child kind of slows you down. And like, I'm not in a rush to answer the email and to answer that client call, especially in these moments where I'm just kind of like wrestling with him. I'm just
Come
kind of
on,
like
man.
slowed down now. So I think that's my favorite part about being a new dad.
Bro, you're like 4 months away from body slamming him, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
he 8 months, but he already standing up, climbing on me and stuff.
hey, body
that's
slamming my son is like some of the greatest joys of my life. I've been body slamming him for 15 years, man.
Yeah.
yeah.
I haven't done it since he turned 15 though. It's been
I'm
kind
about
of
to say
he's
this movement get few and far between. And my son's 21. I couldn't imagine body slamming him on a positive note. I could think about body slamming on other notes.
oh
But the
man.
toss in the air 10 feet in the sky was the one for me. I used to like just the toss in the air and watching his face. Because
Yeah,
mama's on the background, she's like, oh my goodness, you're gonna
yeah.
drop.
I
And he
remember
said he did
I
this.
used to toss CJ up like that. And then I was like, oh, and Jetty used to always have little, like, look, if I'm doing some shit, I gotta do it with her. So she was just like, oh, do it with me. I told she's like, oh, no, don't touch me. I was like,
Something
so
about
just
boys.
make,
Boys always like, they
Yeah,
love it. They love it. The
they
girls, for
they just
some
like
reason,
danger.
it freaks them out.
bruh,
Yeah,
man. But you
that's
just
it,
see your
man.
son just like takes you back, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Hmm.
facts. And
But
look, the time goes by so fast. Trump can tell you, like, my daughter's 16, my son's 21. It feels like yesterday he was that size. And time goes by so quickly. So one
man,
thing I
I
can tell you, just cherish this moment, bro, because they go
cherish,
by
bro.
so
Like, hey,
fast.
what me and Chizzy didn't do a good job, and this wasn't a thing in our era 20 years ago, man. Take so much pictures and video, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
take so much
yeah.
pictures and videos, man.
Yeah.
Like, I thank God for Facebook. We did have
Yeah.
Facebook 15 years ago, and Facebook got some pictures of Jada when she was a baby. She was one like, she's like, like she just lit up, like you're just like, and I'm like, man, all the feels came back.
Yeah, and you
Took all
forget
the
that
pictures with
remember you
her,
were looking at some
man.
stuff when I was in
Man,
Atlanta and some stuff further through Facebook. I'm like, dang, I remember my son was that small and he was crying at the wedding and he was just so small and looking at him now, he's like a big grown man. So now he don't need you for nothing.
Yeah.
yeah,
See you feel what I'm saying? Other than
We
that
got
height.
we got him we got him his own Gmail account, and we just
come
put
on.
all the photos on Google Drive. So like the
Okay,
ones we don't want to post on Facebook, we got a Google Drive full of
sure,
all his pictures and videos
Bro,
and
bro,
memories.
bro, do it all the time, man. It is a special thing. I cut Jenna's umbilical cord, poured the blood off. She grabbed my pinky. I always talk about this. She grabbed my pinky right here. We have a picture of it, but I can't find that picture. She just grabbed my pinky, but her eyes wasn't even open when she was born. And she turned
Mm,
17 next week, bro. She turned
Oh man,
17 next week, bro. That is,
yeah.
time flies.
bro, that's
The
crazy.
fact
And,
that you can still
you know,
vividly talk about that moment and to say in the
Bro,
same sentence, she
bro.
turned 17. That's
Yeah.
yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, that's why I say, man, enjoy it, man. Special, man. Shout out to all the fathers.
yeah,
Shout out to
for
all the
sure.
fathers on our platform, man. Chiz, if you want to post, like, what's your closing thought? You and Kai, like, to all the fathers out there, man.
Yeah, I mean, I often talk from the perspective of the single guy. That was, I just want to encourage all brothers to continue to just be relevant, in your children's lives, no matter what your circumstances are, no matter how difficult it is. I heard my mate from the prayer line says, "Never abandon your post." That's a quote that BK. Shout out to BK. BK said, "Do not abandon your post." And I know sometimes it's rough when you're getting all the chatter from either your ex or your ex-wife or your children's mom, and you feel like just running in the other direction because you don't feel like you're appreciated. Stick to the wicket. Do not abandon your post because you will reap the rewards in the long run. So that's my encouragement to all the single brothers, to all the fathers. Stay positive, stay in your children's life, and be relevant and be impactful because you will never ever get those moments back, and you don't want to live in regret thinking I should have, would have, could have.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my takeaway.
Kai, what you got for the people, and also let them know how they can find out whatever you got going on, man.
Yeah, and to add to what Chizzy was saying, like to all the fathers, money is abundant, right? Money is energy. You can always get more money. And so that overtime don't matter. That extra hour that the boss wants you to stay in don't matter. Like you now have a responsibility and the perfect excuse to tell people no. Like, no, I gotta get back home to my son or my daughter. No, I gotta go to their game. No, I gotta do this. No, no, no. Because you can always get more money, but you can't get that time back with your little ones. So that's gonna be my advice. And for the men or women that want to tap in, with all the things that I have going on from content to, just a little peek into my life with my family, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, where all the platforms at Quiy.speaks. That's QUIY.speaks, and my website, QuiSpeaks.com. And, everything you need to know is going to be right there.
Yeah, I closed out with this, man. I was watching the autobiography on Netflix of Sylvester Stallone. I was a big Rocky fan, big Rambo fan, man. And I was watching right before we came on live. And I asked all the fathers to watch it because he has a statement that he makes like halfway through. And he's like, man, you do all this stuff only to be in a big house by yourself because you didn't value the loved ones along the way. And like they got the screen, right, Kai, panning out of his mansion, in his huge mansion. Him got, he got floor to ceiling windows. He's standing there, he in this huge house by himself. And he talks about how he moves because the house is so empty because in the time when he had them in his life, it wasn't no significant investment in their life. It was significant investment in what his movies were. And they felt like they was second place because people don't realize, I don't know if a lot of people know, Rocky and Rambo, he was the writer of all those movies.
All of those movies.
So he was the writer, director, and actor. He was the first one to ever do that. So the time it takes to rewrite scripts. So like first you was acting on set, but when you get home, you're not even home because you're not only writing the script, you're rewriting the script, and you're preparing for another script. And he was talking about obsession. I'm saying, well, dang, if you off on set, gone, but then when you're home, you putting midnight oil. I'm like, well, and so he was talking about. He even said he did a scene of how his son had said in like Rocky V, like you pick him over me. He's like, I could do it in theater, but I couldn't do it in real life. Like that was actually a real situation in our household. And that was his real son in that movie. I don't know if people knew that too, but like that's the significance of their relationship right there. He did a movie with him. And like that was it because he really wasn't as active. So like him to be like his last 20, 30 years of his life, he been living by himself. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's interesting that, bro, why you got that time? Dads, why you got a chance? I don't care. Some of you got, 20 years, or some of you got 2 hours, or I don't care how much time you got. Take advantage of the time to pour into your children because it's priceless.
You're going to be an expert at something. You're going to be an expert at something. So wherever you spend most of your time, you get your $10,000 in, you're going to be an outlier and an expert in something. You just have to figure out what something is that going to be, and then what are you going to sacrifice on your back end? That's really what it comes down to. What are you sacrificing on your back end? So you can put all your time in work, put all your time being away from him, you put all your time in writing movies and being a director, but some part of your life is going to suffer as a result of that. So you just have to ask yourself, how can you strike the balance? And balance is obviously what we're trying to achieve. every day. But you got to figure to have that choice.
As we say, and Boy Man King, as it relates to fatherhood and as life, the journey continues. Man, please follow us. Please subscribe. Please share. Kai, man, thank you.
Man. Kai's episode drops on Kai's episode is dropping, man. We didn't plug that, man. Kai's episode
dropping
tomorrow. Tomorrow, man. Come on. Tomorrow,
it's
12 p.m.
It's going down.
Check out Kai. He talks about King Kong. We talk about a lot. Check out Kai's episode, man.
Yeah, Chizzy, drop the mic. That's
Chizzy
it.
The hype man, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. But listen, man, Kai, it's an absolute pleasure, man. Thank you for you and Kai the Guy Jr. in the building, man, holding it down with us, man. Thank you for joining us tonight, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good night.
All right, man. Bless. All right, fam. Appreciate you, bro.
All right, man. Get your rest doing, man.